Hello and welcome to The One Show with Alex Jones.
And welcome back, Mr. Jason Manflu Manford.
Manflu Manford. I take offence at that, thank you very much. Also coming up, Marty Jobson will be getting under the bonnet of the world's coolest time machine.
Oh, yes.
Can't wait for that.
Right then, the TARDIS might be the most famous time machine ever, but it's certainly not the coolest. That honour could only go to one vehicle.
Oh, yeah.
Wait a minute, Doc. Are you telling me that you built a time machine out of a DeLorean?
The way I see it, if you're gonna build a time machine into a car, why not do it with some style? Besides, the stainless steel construction made the flux dispersal. Look out!
It's 25 years since Back to the Future, exactly 25 years. In fact, have a look at this. There it is. Look at that, 25 years!
All right, OK.
That's the clock, the actual clock for the
geek.
film. I love it.
Now then, even if you're not a Back to the Future nerd, the DeLorean has a fascinating history of its own. Marty Jobson steps back in time.
Belfast. As the 70s gave way to a new decade, the city faced the darkest days of a bitter conflict that would take more than another decade to resolve. Over 2,000 had died. Murder, bombing and rioting were all too common, and male unemployment was hitting 40%. It was a bad situation, and unless these men were given jobs, in danger of getting worse. The government needed a plan. Belfast was good at building ships. But what else could it build? Belfast's salvation was put in the hands of this man, John DeLorean, a charismatic American motorcar tycoon who had a vision for a revolutionary new sports car. All DeLorean needed was a factory and willing workers. All Belfast needed was something to build. A deal was sealed and the British government dug deep. In 1979, John DeLorean received just shy of £40 million to build his car factory. Belfast got this. The DeLorean DMC-12. The government and the newly employed workers had high hopes for its success, and a year later, the first cars rolled off the production line.
Rather than get a pay unemployment benefit and social security costs, I think the government thought, well, give them jobs instead. So a lot of people who came to the factory were in their 30s and hadn't worked before.
Now, John DeLorean, he wasn't your average boss, was he? What was he like?
Well, he used to come around a couple of times around the factory, and he just seemed like a film star.
The DeLorean was designed to take on the big hitters in the world of supercars. This included one of the most powerful cars of the time, the Porsche 911 SC. We've organised a road speed race on a private drive at Houghton Hall in Norfolk. A vintage Porsche and the DeLorean, both from 1981, will compete against the clock. The rules are simple. Fastest 0 to 60 wins. Come on. There's a second. Pretty good. Not bad, not bad. Coming up, coming up. Coming up. Oh, that's it, that's it, that's it, that's it. That was a struggle. Now for the Porsche. Great start. This is quick. Really quick. A full second faster. The Porsche well outperforms the DeLorean. That was a pretty average performance for something claiming to be a sports car. But it reveals the truth about the DeLorean, that despite its glamorous origins and its futuristic looks, it was actually a bit disappointing. While today's owners are fanatical about their cars, buyers in the 80s were less enthusiastic. In fact, the cars being produced in Belfast were of such poor quality that rectification plants had to be built across America to fix them before they were delivered to customers. Just 21 months after the first car was produced, the receiver was called in. The factory and test track fell silent. It was to get far worse for the tycoon when he was arrested in a Miami FBI sting operation.
The arrest of John DeLorean, he's charged with drug offences.
I woke up that morning and heard it in the news that John DeLorean was arrested, and I couldn't believe it. My heart sank, and I knew then that the dream was finished.
The tycoon later beat the charges made against him, but it came too late. The company was bust. 2,500 jobs were lost, as was the government's investment, which had mushroomed to over 80 million. That should have been the end of the DeLorean story. But then Doc Brown got behind the wheel, immortalising the DeLorean in Back to the Future.
The movie provided priceless publicity and turned the car into an icon.
The DeLorean. We didn't get much for our £83 million. Just an average sports car, really, but one fuelled by a mythical reputation. And that may be enough to burn its name in history.
Well, forget Marty McFly. It's Marty Jobson. Look at this for an entrance.
There he comes.
Oh,
There
yeah.
we go.
Hello then, Marty. It's a bit chilly, isn't it?
It's a bit.
And Jason looks like
Travel through time, but I can't control the weather.
Now then, we know that, you know, this is the coolest sort of version, but in the original film, Back to the Future, they weren't going to use the DeLorean, were they?
No, they were originally going to have it in a fridge. That was going to be a refrigerator was going to be the time travel thing. But they were a bit worried about kids kind of climbing in and sort of trying to travel in time. So, yeah. This
Now, famously, the car goes to 88 mile an hour to head back to the future. What speed can this thing do?
Now this only goes on the speedo up to 85 miles an hour because that was to do with the American law because the speed limit's 55, so they wanted it to look like you were going faster. So.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and is there even the tiniest possibility that time travel is possible?
Now, in the film, they talk about wormholes and stuff like that. So, and it's theoretically possible if you sort of stretch them out and you go at the speed of light and stuff like this. But it ain't going to happen. And if you want to go back in time, forget it. Can't
Right.
be done. It can't be done.
Well, lovely. That was a bit disappointing, wasn't it? To be honest with you.
But you can't go back. Theoretically,
If you could go back, where would you go back to, Ross?
I think I'd go back to 1966 to Wembley, because I think it's the only time we're ever going to win the World Cup on present form.
That's fair enough.
Harsh.
So 25 years. What I found quite interesting, I don't know if you can see this, is that here we are, 9th of the 11th. That's as far forward as we can go.
So even if we
That's
go
the road.
forward...
The road tax only takes to September next year.
Right, there
So
we
it
are
doesn't matter
then.
what you type in. Legally, we can only go to September.
And if you could go back, where would you go back to, Jess?
Me, I'd go back to yesterday because I don't get sick pay. Well, we couldn't really. We're going to have a go in this, aren't we?
I think we're going to have to get in.
I'd love to.
Let's go, mate. Let's go.
There's only
easy to
2
drive?
seats. Are we going to fit in there?
Well, me and you are getting that, and you can pop in there.
I'll stay in the cold here.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go.
You go.
Thank you.
Get in the
Come on,
car.
right.
Actually, this is
Okay,
fantastic.
well, Ross's new book, Warriors, is out now. Tomorrow on the show, we've got the fantastic Brian Ferry. Right, in I can, make room. What do you do with glasses on? Oh.
We're in. See you later, buddy.
How come you get to drive this thing anyway, Ross?
I got my agent to ring up.
What's that then?
It's the gear stick. Do you even know how to drive a DeLorean?
Don't be silly, I used to steal cars for a living.
Okay, here we go. 30 years into the future.
Can we stop in the services?
What does this button do?